Okay, so I'm back with another tutorial. After putting up my walkthrough of Fear Change, which is from my new album Dynamis, I said you could, if there's anything else you want me to touch upon, then I'll do another tutorial. And in that video, I mentioned parallel compression and a little bit about getting your kick and your sub and your bass all to work together. And someone else also said they'd love to know more about my remix of Rough House. So we've got Rough House remix here. I used parallel compression on the main drums, so the kick and the snare, and I did some clever things, I imagine, to get the kick and the bass all working nicely. So let's have a little look through. And if you don't know the tune, I will play a little bit. Here we go.
Rough House, Rough House, Rough House, Rough House.
Okay, so you get the idea. If you don't know the original, go and look up the original. This is my remix. I actually made this. When is this? Wow. So I made this in 2011, so a long time ago. But anyway, so someone was asking me about parallel compression, and basically what parallel compression is you can use it on many things. You can use it on vocals, guitars, basses, just basically anything you want. The reason I use it on drums is if my drums just, I feel like, they're there, but I want them to really punch and come through and just be solid, then that's when I will use it. So if I just solo my drums. Okay, so these are my drums as they play in the track, using battery again and just, I don't know, samples I've made along the way. Okay, so let's see what I've done. I'll probably do things a little bit differently now because this is from 2011. Okay, yeah, I used to love this plugin. This plugin was so cool. Hang on, just adds a bit of, something special to sounds. A bit of compression and distortion in one. I've used a little bit of envelope shaper on there. Okay, so this is our kick here. Now, this kick is being sent to a group. In Cubase, buses are called groups. And in programs like Pro Tools, it'd be called an auxiliary. So they're all auxiliary tracks, basically, which is like a channel on your mixer that has nothing being sent to it. So there's no, so it's just like a plain channel. It's not like your drum track or your vocal track. It's something completely on its own, and you can send a signal to these auxiliary tracks. So you could have a reverb on there, and you send, a little bit of your signal from your drums to this reverb channel on an auxiliary that then gives you more control over your reverb rather than your reverb being on your track. And I can go into that in more detail as well in another video if you'd like, but today is parallel compression. Okay, so I've got my kick. So I've got 2 snares by the looks like, or 3. 3 snares. Here we go. What's the first snare? Okay. There's no real need for that one. Right, now if we look, see, this one is not being sent to my parallel compression. Or is it? Hang on. Oh yes, it is. Sorry about that. Yeah, so if you look on these channels, it says group 1 or auxiliary 1. Same here, and same here, and same on our kick. Okay, So if I go over to group 1, which is here, you can see this is where all my drums are coming from. So normally, if you don't do this, your drums, or whatever sound you're using, if you don't send it to an auxiliary like this, then it's going straight to the master out. But in this case, it's going to this channel, which is group 1, or auxiliary 1, and then that output is going to the master. Got it? Okay, so let's have a little listen. Again. So they're all going to this group 1. And on here, I've got a tiny bit of distortion and using a little bit of alloy just to improve the transients, to give it a bit of snap. Okay, so now this is parallel compression. What you're doing is you're getting your signal, and as I said, we've put the main drums on an auxiliary track. And what you're doing from there is you're then sending a bit of that signal, or all of that signal, to another auxiliary. But on this auxiliary channel, you're just smashing it with compression. So if I here, look, let me call this here parallel compression drums. There we go, and we'll call this drums auxiliary. Perfect. Okay, so this is where all our drums are going, and this is our parallel compression channel here. Now on here I have got a compressor, which is a waves compressor. Now you can see there's quite a bit of compression going on, like a 12 dB worth. I've got a really fast attack and a really slow release, and this is because I want it to just be compressed constantly. I don't want it compressing it and then letting go. I just want it to be solid. And this is probably extreme, but this is just what I did in this case, is I then even put a limiter on it, and this is the L2, which is by waves. So this is doing even more. I think I saw about 9 dB. Yeah, 8.4 dB. Okay, I don't need the dithering on. So let me play these drums without my parallel compression, and you'll hear the difference. Okay, so pretty good. But what I'm going to do is I'll slowly bring up, and this is what you would do. So you'd have your track playing, you've got your original drums as they are, playing it in the track, and then slowly you bring up the volume of this compressed channel of your drums. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll let it do a couple of bars, and then I'll put it back on, and you can try and hear the difference. So that's what it does. It's just to make things a bit fatter, a bit more in your face. Let me just play it in the track. I'll play it without, and then with, and then I'll play it again where I'm taking it in and out, and you can hopefully hear it. So watch me as I am muting the parallel compression drums channel. Let me just get the volume right, hang on. Alright, here we go. So I'll play it first without, so I'm going to mute it. Here we go. So as you can hear, the drums, they're there, but they're a little bit almost like dusty. Like there's not enough attack, there's not enough brightness, they don't feel as solid. So I'll mute my parallel compressed channel. Raw files. Much better. You can hear it straight away. They're really poking out now. So what I'll do now is I'll play it and I'll have it without it, and then I'll put it in and take it away a couple of times. So just watch my mouse cursor onto the mute button and you'll see when and where I am putting my parallel compression in and out, and you should hear the difference. And if you don't hear the difference, it can be one of the things where over time you get more experience and you can hear these things. Like, it takes a while, you know, for people even to hear compression and what compression does, let alone something like this. But this should be a little bit more obvious because you're basically making something more apparent and a little bit more volume. But rather than you turning up your drums and creating more peaks and dynamics that could affect the volume of your overall track, you know, and you have a limiter or on your final track, because of these big peaks, your limiter is going to kick in really early and you're not going to be able to get the most volume out of your master. So by using parallel compression, you know, you're bringing almost up like a duplicate of the same channel, but you've cut all them peaks off and you've got just the meat and bones of the sound, and you're bringing that in. So you're creating just a fatness. So here we go. I'm going to play it, I'm going to mute it and unmute it. Let me know what you think.
Raw files, raw files.
So hopefully you heard that and you could see what was happening. So just to reiterate, you may not, I don't do this on all my tracks. Like I do not send my kicks and my snares to a auxiliary. I don't do it in every track. Some tracks I do. I can't tell you why. Just sometimes I just think, oh, you know, today I'm going to send my kick and my snare to a bus and compress them on their own, just to see if they sound better. And sometimes I do that. Then I get to the end of the tune when it's finished, and then I go back to just sending them straight to the master channel, and I think that sounds better. So then I undo it. But in this case, with this tune, I did that for some reason. So if you're not doing this, if you're not putting your drums on an auxiliary channel and they're going straight to the master, you can do exactly the same thing from your individual sounds. So if I come over here, I'll just name this kick so we know. Kick. There you go. What I could have done is go here. So this is my sends. I can send it to, there you go. You can see my parallel compressed drums. And then I click this little button and that's how much I send the signal to my parallel compression. So you can do it that way. And it's the same way. It's just that because I've put them all on an auxiliary channel, I'm doing it from here. So you can see I've picked it already. There we go. So that's what you're doing. Now, how much you compress it is down to you and what your ears tell you is right. But at the time of making this tune, this is how I felt, you know, it was working best. And the good thing about this also is you can then EQ this sound. So if I play this, and I'll just muck around with the EQs, and you can see what can hang on, let me just save this. Wouldn't that be great if I lost this? Hang on. Tutorial. There we go. So I'm going to play it and I'm going to try boosting some of the highs and maybe even try boosting some of the lows, like where the kick would be landing. So as you can see, just from getting around those areas, you know, you're kind of getting towards like the lower highs and the low mids there. Well, not low mids, but yeah, around 90 hertz. It's adding even more to that parallel compressed signal. So it's only going to help it stick through more. And there's no right or wrong with this stuff. It's just what you think sounds right and what you think sounds wrong. And that's how I always work. This would never be applied to another tune in exactly the same way as this again. So don't copy, you know, my settings on L2 or RComp, just copy the method and have fun. And I guarantee you, you'll make your drum sound banging by doing this. And then there'll be other tunes when you don't need to parallel compress. I don't parallel compress in every track. So let me see what's going on with bass in here. Right, so we just got 808s in this. And these are what were given to me from Jay Kenzo, who produced the original. So I've just used his subs, or his 808s. I've done a light bit of limiting on it, but it sounds like it's more just to bring it up in volume a little more. Maybe add a little bit of warmth. This is a good compressor for that as well. So another great thing. Sorry to jump back to the parallel compression again, but if you watch the hello, that's weird. I've got this turned down. This is what I'm saying. Like back in the day, you know, even I mean that wasn't even that long ago, 2011. I was doing mental things. Look, I've turned the stereo output down for some reason. Okay, well anyway, that's what I did on this tune. Who cares? But if you watch the meter, hang on, and then I turn off my parallel compression, so it's like minus, you know, 3.6. But when I bring my parallel compression, we're adding, it hears like we're adding loads of volume to the drums, but it isn't affecting this, you know, the overall volume much at all. So this is a really good way of getting more volume out of sounds, you know. And if you're getting close to things peaking and you're like, oh god, I can't turn up my kick and my snare because it's just gonna screw up everything on my master channel, or I just don't want it to peak, then this is what you can do to get that extra volume, is send those sounds to a parallel compressed channel and turn it up, and it doesn't really affect the signal, as you can see. I mean, it is adding a tiny bit. Hang on. It's like adding what, roughly a dB, maybe dB and a half. But from the perception point of view and how you perceive that loudness you've just added, it sounds like you've added a lot more than that. So parallel compression, I hope that makes sense. If there's anything more you want to know on this, then just hit me up, leave a comment, and I'll try and reply to your comment below. This can work really well with vocals. This can work really well with sub basses, with mid-range bass, with basically with anything you think it just needs to be a bit more thick and just, you know, in the front of your mix, then parallel compression is the way to go. I hope this has helped in some way. I'll try and do another one soon. Anything else you want to know, leave a comment. Someone did request I did a walkthrough of this remix, so I might actually do a tutorial soon on remixes in general and how to approach a remix, how I approach remixes, and this might be the perfect one to do it with. I can deconstruct how I made it, so let me know. Until next time, take it easy.